welcome to your bi-weekly update of Box Office QBs, where we bring you the best and hottest movie and game reviews weekly, twice weekly, I guess, since it's bi-weekly. But before we get to that, we want to issue a challenge. That's right. Become a rival. Go to joinrival.com/boxofficeqbs and sign up today. And with your first deposit of up to $200, not only will Rival match it, they'll give you $25 in free play and a $10 free voucher. So if you deposit $200 and do all that, you'll end up with about $435 to play around and challenge your friends and again in fantasy apps and bingo and just fantasy sports in general. It's a lot of fun. More things are coming to this app every single day, so make sure you join us over there at rival.com. Again, that is joinrival.com/boxofficeqbs. So now let's get into it. We're talking Friday Night at Freddy's. It's Hallows Eve
Five Nights.
in America. Exciting. What Friday night, Five Nights at Freddy's, excuse me. But it's kind of like the epitome of what I think this movie is just a whole bunch of fuck ups. A lot of good stuff that they could have done that they just didn't do it where I don't think. This movie is starring Josh Hutcherson of Hunger Games fame, Matthew Lillard of Scooby Doo, and Elizabeth Lail from the hit Netflix series You. They all come together to, quite frankly, make one of the least scary horror movies based on a horror franchise I've seen in quite some time. Jeff, what do you think?
I didn't think it was that bad, honestly. Like, I think this is geared toward a younger audience, which is what Five Nights at Freddy's was. It's like a starter horror franchise for you to get into, you know, the screams of the world and Halloween and stuff like that. Like, I think for a PG-13 horror movie, it did keep my attention. There were some subplots that I thought just kind of took away from being in the pizzeria. But overall, I had a good time with this movie.
Yeah, I mean, good time. I don't know if I'd even say I had a good time with it. First off, it's another video game adaptation movie, and for those who are unaware, Five Nights at Freddy's is a video game that you play as a security guard and you try to not die of the animatronics that are haunted and try to come after you. It's started to become a little more convoluted from what I understand, a better storyline. It's a game I never myself got into. I did see a few gameplay on YouTube, which I'm pretty sure is what Jeff was like as well. So we're
Yeah.
going into this as purely movie reviewers, really, not movie reviewers based on a game. But even though we have gotten great video game adaptations lately, Sonic, The Last of Us, but I just I don't know, scouring the internet the past few days since seeing it, I've seen fans of the game acknowledge the fact that there's tons of Easter eggs, and as fans of the game, they were happy with this adaptation of the movie. In the movie, it's just for me that there's, like you mentioned, the plot, the subplots, they kind of just take away from it all. The horror essence to me of this movie being that animatronics are ghosts and are demons, and they're gonna try to kill you in your sleep or while you try to survive inside this haunted building is it's a good story. And you look at the story Josh Hutcherson, and again PETA in the Hunger Games series, his character takes on what we get, it follows his character Mike, a 20-something-year-old with a baby sister and a weird babysitter who is holding it together with tapes and nails. We find out later, like way later, that his mom had died after his little brother died, and that his dad said, "Fuck all this, I'm dipping." Um, but you also have an aunt who's trying to steal custody. So
Because she
like there's
wants the
all this,
checks. Yeah.
she wants the checks. There's these subplots going on that just they not all of them, most of them don't really go anywhere, to be quite frank. And the movie actually spends about an hour plus of its hour 40 runtime focusing on these subplots, which is why I say I don't have a ton of fun with this movie, is because it's just it doesn't really bring horror. There's a few jump scares here and there, like in the beginning of the movie you get some people breaking into Freddy's restaurant and they end up dying, and there's about 4 or 5 jump scares there. And then you think you're going to get hit with 3 or 4 jump scares the first time Mike brings his sister Abby to the restaurant, and
Yeah.
instead you just get these slow burn awkward weird moments with the animatronics and the main characters. It's not a horror film to me. It's a good idea. It has solid grounding. You root a horror film and you give the characters backstory so you care about them surviving, but you never really put them in scary moments where they might die. I just
Yeah.
to me, I was like, what the hell is the point of watching this? It really felt like Josh Hutcherson was trying to get his foot in the door of real Hollywood actor, and he thought doing a horror movie would be the way to show that he can have emotion. And sorry about you, man, but horror movies just have never really been the ones where you have Oscar winning actors and actresses make their debut in film, right? I mean, it's just my opinion.
I think that we haven't seen Josh Hutcherson in anything really since the Hunger Games. I think he was kind of desperate to latch on to a new franchise. This is a popular franchise. Like, you go to Target right now, like, there's Five Nights at Freddy's books, and you have board games and figures, and the merch is a huge seller. This movie debuted on streaming and theaters at the same day. It still made $78 million opening weekend. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a monster franchise for like Gen Z and people of that generation. But uh, I think like there is some missed opportunities here for sure. Like, I don't think you were ever going to get a hard R with a franchise like this, but I think there could have been some more kills here because really you get the three at the very beginning, and there's some cool stuff in here, like the cupcake kill. I thought was pretty creative. You also have the babysitter, which had the like gnarliest kill in the entire movie, where she gets bit in half by Freddy. But after that, you spend so much time in the woods, and I think it just everything else just gets lost in the shuffle here. I just really think that they could have cut back on that subplot 50% and
Well,
gave us
yeah.
50% more in the actual pizzeria.
Well, especially with what they decided to do with the subplot being the family issues. We'll call it the family drama because there's about three different subplots within that subplot of the family drama. But let's just call the entire thing the family drama subplot. And with that, the big bad aunt, the one who hires people to try to get Mike fired, the one who's trying to find a way to make the court take Abby away from her bigger brother because he can't do it, even though he has a house in 2023. I mean, like, remember
No,
that?
I
Like,
think
he's
this
in
movie
a
set in the 90s though,
was
right?
it set in the
Because
90s? I may have missed that. That's
it
completely on me.
that's the confusing thing, because they don't make it clear until you see him using like a rotary phone, and he's driving like a 95
Well, and
Honda.
then I
So
thought the
it wasn't
95 Honda
clear.
was just supposed to hit home that he was poor. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, nothing in this
Yeah.
movie's clear. And on top of this, like, there is a part in this movie where Freddy leaves Freddy's pizzeria, takes a I don't know how the fuck he gets there, but he gets to the
Yes.
house and he kidnaps a kid. There's and then like on the way out, you see like the bottom half of the ant, the big bad ant who is the reason half the shit's happening right now. Like, and the big bad ant's laying on the ground, and you get the ghost of the ghost of the kid who's in Freddy saying like, oh well, she's taking a nap or she got hurt. First off, did you just kill the ant? Like, if you just killed the aunt, why did you just kill one of the big bats of the film off camera? Why didn't we get to see that? That's a big, like, it's a horror movie. I get you're trying to hit that PG-13 rating, but just don't. If you're doing a horror movie where there's animatronics tearing people apart, like, I think you're gonna have to go for the hard R. You're gonna have to go for the rated R here, and they just fucking don't. And at the end of the movie goes on, and you never even mention the fact that the aunt died. The whole reason Mike was sneaking his little baby sister to a haunted mansion at the end of the day is dead and not there anymore. And then you even go on top of that, Hutchinson, Mike sneaks his baby sister, who's like, what, 7? Into this
Yeah.
scary haunted place. He already knows is freaking sketchy because somebody broke into it and he found blood on it. And then he walks in, finds all these animatronics tickling his little sister, moving like fucking ghosts. And the next morning, the sister goes like, "Yeah, those were ghosts, by the way." And Mike's like, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah. You want to go back? You want
Problems
to
of not
go?"
having a babysitter, am I right?
Yeah, like you don't. Nothing in this film made any sense. Like it really does, and maybe I'm getting this because I've been reading the MCU book that we were talking about in our chat, and we're not
Yeah.
reviewing that. But in that book, they talk about how that Edward Norton really wanted creative control over his character in his Incredible Hulk 2008, and That's just what this movie feels like to me for Josh Hutcherson. And I'm not no means knocking Hutcherson. For what it's worth, I thought he did a pretty good portrayal in this film. I just don't think the two subplots mix with the actual main plot of it being a horror slasher film. Because that's what this is. It's a horror escape room slasher film.
Yeah. My
And
problems
we
though.
don't get that. I was expecting more Saw 3, and we got I don't even know what we got.
This is Saw for kids,
This is
pretty
a
much.
bad Stranger Things remake
Eh.
where you
So
get
my
kids taking on a
problems,
demon and you don't get any gore coming with it.
yeah, my problems with this movie have to do with huge plot holes, particularly um, William Afton's daughter, who's the cop here.
Hmm.
Like, she knew this was going on. She knew her dad murdered all these kids. She becomes a cop. She doesn't report this
Was
to
she
the
a cop though? Was she a
authorities.
cop though? Was she a cop? Because like
I think
that's
she's a
another thing.
cop.
They never say that she is or isn't one. But like people were murdered in that building, and the security guard the next day found blood on the door. So like
Unless
how
there's
does
something supernatural going on here. Well, there is, obviously, but they
there's
don't
something
really
supernatural,
explain
but
that
like
either.
they don't like there's a lot of things not explained. But like I do not want to just harp on this movie for 15 minutes. I want to talk a little bit about the good things, especially for the fans, because I'm a full believer. Video games are just movies you can play.
Yes.
Spider-Man 2 is one that is a great example. All the Spider-Man games, God of War games, Assassin's Creed, like they're movies you can play. Hogwarts Legacy, it goes on and on. And Five Nights at Freddy's is not like that, even though it has delved into a history and started building its own lore. But I still believe that when you turn a video game into a movie, it deserves the recognition for what it did right. And what I think it did right in this, the animatronics, they're fucking creepy. And for what it's worth, they gave off a scary vibe the entire movie. I think the animatronics are great. The few jump scares they had were pretty good. Um, and again, Hutchinson really tries in this. Hutchinson does his best at making his mark and leaving his mark. And I think that was great. And finally, Matthew Lillard. Anytime you can cast him, I'm all for it. I like him. I love him in this. He signed on for 3 movies, so I do not think this is the end. We're going to get more of these. Just hopefully they find a way to really focus on the scary shit and not just on the family drama shit.
Yeah. Well, he was the creepiest animatronic. Like, that giant rabbit was fucking scary at the end. And
Mhm.
uh, they did some cool things with his character where you see him kind of grab the knife and go like this, which is a reference to him in the first Scream movie where he's
Mhm.
Ghostface and he does the same thing. So that was pretty cool. Um, I thought Josh Hutcherson was pretty good in this movie as well. I would like to see more of the Five Nights at Freddy's instead of like the 2.5 nights at Freddy's that we did see. Um, but
It was really only 2 nights.
yeah, that's where I'll stand with this one.
All right, let's jump right into our final call. What are you rating this?
It's a starter. I think this is like for parents who are brave enough to show their kids horror movies on Halloween night. This is a perfect movie for that. So it'll be a starter for me.
I'm benching it, man. I feel like there's 3 different movies in here, and they all tried to run within an hour 40, and the worst one won, and that isn't great. If you're hoping for a Halloween scare fest tonight or this Halloween week, look elsewhere. There's tons of other movies. There's tons of other shows out there. Follow the House of Usher's one that I would watch before this. Just about any of those type of scary TV shows on
Goosebumps.
Netflix.
Shout out to
Goosebumps is
Sony
another
Pictures.
one. Shout out to Sony. There's tons of other things you could spend your time watching this Halloween season. This doesn't feel like this feels like a scary movie that was released in July.
Well,
I'll
there
say that.
is there is a movie that came out a few years ago. It's called Willy's Wonderland. It is essentially Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's rated R and it stars Nicolas Cage as a security guard. So if you want,
What's
if that's the better movie,
what's the movie we recently did? I don't remember if it was you and me or me and Ahmed who reviewed it, but it was about the serial killer in Denver who was taking kids.
Oh, the Black Phone. That's a good one
For
too.
some reason, yeah, well, that one's a good one. But for, like this movie felt like it was trying to do a little bit of that, what the Black
Yeah,
Phone did with
I
the
can see
ghosts of the
that.
children and helping all that stuff. It didn't work because, like I said, there's five different movies. There's a family drama, there's a horror movie, there's a police thriller, there's a little bit of a comedy thrown in there. It's just and none of them really work together. The actors do their best and try. I don't believe it. Um, but I mean, I guess that's all we have to say. Is there anything else you have about this film?
That's it. It's free on Peacock. I mean,
Yeah,
watch
it's
it
just another
if
reason
it's
not
your
to get
thing.
Peacock. It's another reason not to get Peacock. But that's
Twisted
besides the
Metal
fact.
is good too.
All
So
right, all right, all right. Peacock, Peacock, Peacock. No, no, no. But let's just cut this out. We'll go straight to our ad read before we do. Sayonara to everybody. Good luck in your fantasy league this week, and hopefully your NFL teams didn't die like mine did and Kirk Cousins. For Jeff, I'm Gerald. This has been Box Office QB Scary Edition. Happy Halloween! Trick or treat, smell your feet, and don't forget to go to joinrival.com/boxofficeqbs to join up and become a rival. Bet with your friends, play fantasy, beat sporting bingo, all the good stuff, and you can get $200 matched on your first deposit and a $25 voucher and $10 in free play.